Okay, our next speaker is Miss Linda Jenkins. She is another victim of the governor.
I was asked to give a face to Southeast Hospital, so here I am, unemployed, employment cut short. Many people with me in the same circumstances. Many people were let go when they were just weeks and months from retirement. But let me tell you that if you look in the Voice Bible in John, it says that, let me get it right, Judas wanted to take the money from the poor because he wanted to take the money from the common pot at every opportunity. Does that sound familiar? Southeast was provided very good mental health systems behind a gate that no one really realized the services that we offered for adults and children and addictive services. In fact, when Joint Commission came, they said we were a pocket of excellence in a very dismal mental health system. As of July the 13th, 2012, the administration came in, made a few weak jokes, and then promptly told us that we were closing. In January of this year, they upped the closure date and closed us because we were making some voices. So now the pocket of excellence is gone. It's closed. The privatization began. And I'll just give you some of the factors from that privatization. There is a public perception that the same services are being provided. We hear many things that indicate to us the services are not provided. There were many beds that were closed. Children's services are gone, and you teachers know how badly those services were needed to support you. If you ask someone around St. Tammany Parish right now, most of them will say, oh, I thought it was taken over, or oh, it was bought. They don't realize that in the current House bills, the remainder of Southeast property will be shuttered and sold as surplus property. So then what happens to the services that were saved, according to so many public officials? Services have been redirected. The health care has been redirected from being patient-oriented to private-oriented. We know for some unofficial facts that the paying patients are selected over our chronically mentally ill. The beds have been closed, particularly for those patients that you see under the bridges and on the streets, the patients who so badly need the administration of this state to support them because they're citizens just like everybody else. The tax dollar assets have been changed from supporting patients to supporting private industry. When we walked out the door, I know in the pharmacy we left $35,000 worth of medication that was handed over. If you go to the hospital, you know that a 2-cent pill can be turned into a $7 bill, and those were your state dollars. Medical supplies, office supplies, the buildings themselves were handed over to private industries. And I'm not doubting that the private industries want to make money. You would want to do the same thing. That's not where the blame is to be placed, I don't think. The third is the therapy of the mentally ill. We typically had a 3-tier system. That was where the patient was brought in, particularly, let's just use an example, the patient that came in from under the bridge, under the street, and they were given food and shelter, and then they were given medications. Once you had them medicated, you could move them into working with therapists and get them on a life goal and a planned goal to move them to outpatient therapy. The therapy at Southeast has now changed to 2 tiers. That's bring them in, give them medication, rapid stabilization, and get them out the door. That does not support a mentally ill patient. As you know, if any of you work with the mentally ill, you know that if you're lucky, your insurance might, and you have insurance, you might get 30 days coverage. The Louisiana expansion would have given those people more services, more therapies, more supportive care. At this point, as I understand from adult services, the psychologists, the occupational therapies, the recreational therapies, those kinds of supports are gone. So we've now moved into that 2-tier system. We're not saved. Many of them's lives are devastated. There are people now who are on the verge of losing their homes, don't know what they're going to do. Many of the patients many of the employees are actually existing on public assistance, And when that runs out, what do? Many have not even had job interviews because there's not that many jobs in St. Tammany Parish. The mental health system certainly suffered. Most of all, the patients suffered. So if you think about it, we're a nation that was built on I can do this, I can improve. What we heard when Southeast closed and we tried to make a voice, what we heard from so many legislators is there's not a thing I can do about it. That all came from elected officials. So I think it's time for us to challenge our elected officials and say, if you can't, if that's the mentality you have, you're defeated from the beginning, and it's time to get out and go home. Thank you.